Hi, back for a new video. It's been a long time, and I thought I might make a new video, sort of a new type of thing. I mean, I feel like I've done reviews before, but this time I want to go over my new purchase of an M3 Pro MacBook Pro base model. And just sort of give my thoughts after it's been about 2 weeks since I got it. Now the laptop isn't that old. It just came out in November 2023, and the biggest part of this decision making process has been the competition with the previous generation model, the M2 Pro. And there's been a lot of discussion online about how you should go with the refurbished M2 Pro model because it's got higher memory bandwidth and overall is basically the same performance for cheaper. Now I found mine brand new for $1,800. It was an Amazon deal. I went to Best Buy, picked one up. So initially, I got it, and then I felt sort of FOMO. So I did like. I feel like I spent a week of honestly. Oddly enough, sleepless nights trying to figure out if I made the right decision and whatnot. I initially got the space black color, and I will say with that I spent about 4 days with the black model, and my observations are as follows. I like the way it looks. It definitely is darker than the space gray, but although it is pretty, and the fingerprints weren't an issue. Whatever Apple's doing with this new finish, I can really tell they did something different with the annotation because the fingerprints do not show up as much. And so fingerprints were an issue, but I will say generally just like dust, little hairs. I mean, I have 2 cats, so that stuff just kind of shows up. And fingerprints did show up a bit more on the touchpad. So the touchpad looked smudgy. I mean, that's where you're going to be touching most of the time. Anyway, it sort of just made me uneasy because I don't know. I like having a clean device. So I reverted and went back to the silver model. So honestly, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference between this model and the M1 Pro, M1 Max, M2 Pro, M2 Max. But so the color wasn't the driving factor. What I really liked about the M3 though is the decision I made from I believe it's $200 savings. I can get a same spec model of the M2 Pro for $200 less. But I settled on the M3 Pro mostly because of that 2 extra gigabytes of RAM, which doesn't sound like a lot, but going from 16 to 32, or in this case 18 to 36, I believe is a $400 upgrade, and that alone is too much. So just having a little more wiggle room with the specs, I think is good. I mean, 2 gigabytes can go a long way, especially when you're working on a very large project in Premiere or exporting a ton of photos in Lightroom. You just get a lot of previews open in Lightroom, and the way I work with the computer, it's nice to be able to have your creative apps open, but also, you know, browse the web, throw up Apple Music, listen to some stuff while working. It's just nice to be able to multitask. Takes away the distraction of, oh shit, I gotta change from, I gotta close this app in order to open this one, you know. So it's mainly that, to avoid the distraction of like having to manually operate the memory. Also, the display is noticeably brighter. It's actually noticeable. You mostly see it when it's side by side, but I wanted to make sure I got the best experience because I want to be able to take this device to a coffee shop or maybe even outdoors in a hammock or something and just sort of like get into my zone without having to worry about the sun hitting the screen and like being just like a horrible experience. So the extra 600 nits as tested, really I feel like it's much better. And the final thing that really drew me was the fact that the M3 Pro, although it has a very similar sized battery, gets very noticeably, like within like 10-15% much longer battery life than the M2 Pro. And that's what really settled my decision, because I hate being plugged in. That's one of the main driving factors what brought me away from changing to a Windows device, was that the battery life on those things. I've had a couple and the battery life's like 2 hours when you're hitting it hard, maybe an hour. And so just being able to like get stuff done, and I've for the last like 3 days, I even tried a bit of endurance thing, just regular use, and I wasn't hitting it hard much at all, but regular YouTube 4K playback, Apple TV app playback, just intermittent usage, scrolling through articles and whatnot, sometimes leaving it on. It took me about 3 days to get down to, I think it was 29%. And then I was like, oh, well, I don't want the battery to like die on me. So I plugged it in, obviously. But just the fact that I can last 3 days, and also, chargers are so good nowadays. I can, charge this thing up in like a half hour, it feels like. But battery life has been fantastic, especially coming from I had a 2015 Retina MacBook Pro 15-inch, and the amount that computer would heat up just doing simple tasks, and the fact that like, I don't know, it took like 40 minutes until I was in the danger zone, like editing on Lightroom. I had to make sure my charger was in the bag at all times. That anxiety is gone now. I feel like, oh, my computer at 70%, I think I can make it through the day, whereas 99%, I feel like I had to make sure my MagSafe charger was with me at all times. But yeah, no, this M3 Pro has been a major upgrade from, especially the 15-inch MacBook Pro, but even the M1 Mac Mini that I had before. I used to have a Mac Mini at 16 gigs of RAM, but the storage was really low on it. It's actually kind of slow too. But there's a noticeable uptick in general just responsiveness of it. I feel like the apps are actually opening instantly like they used to, or at least how I felt when I initially got that, when the M1 came out right away. the app's just like instant up, and I feel like I'm hitting that performance again. I've done a little bit of Lightroom, some light Photoshop in this, even just like a little bit of Premiere Pro, and I haven't had any issues with the stuttering at all. Exporting is like near instant, especially for the, I believe, 32 megapixel images that I usually output from my EOS R. So in general, I think this upgrade has been great. $1,800, if you can find it for that cheap, I think it's well worth it. If you can't quite afford that, I think the $1,600 for the M2 Pro, definitely worth a look. But I feel like you can't go wrong with this. I even tested some games on it. So I ran some games I used to play on my M1. So Minecraft, Terraria. I know these are very obscure games, but in general, even for light games, I suppose, just the uptick of performance went from experimental like gameplay where it's like, oh, I can run it, but I'm not gonna play it at this frame rate, to like, oh, I can actually sit down and like enjoy this game. I feel like I was running Minecraft at like 120 FPS on my what's over here, it's a 3440 by 1440 monitor, which was like, I feel like you couldn't ask for much more with such a performant laptop. Granted, pales in comparison to the nearest Windows laptop in this price bracket, but I genuinely, with Windows laptops, I genuinely couldn't find the performance that I wanted in a laptop form factor that it was anywhere near the build quality of this MacBook. There's a lot of great Windows laptops, the Zephyrus G14 and Lenovo Legion Slim or something. I actually tested quite a few lightly at Best Buy. The only one that came close I found was the Lenovo Slim Pro 9i, which was, there was a big draw to that one, and honestly I would have gone for the Windows one had I just not had the, like, Windows kind of irks me. And so the idea of like changing from this ecosystem, I'm tucked in this ecosystem. I've got, Mac peripherals, iPhone, Apple Watch, and the fact that everything just communicates together, and then switching to a laptop that just won't really work with anything that I have, really put a wrench in the functionality. Windows Update irks me to my core. Although it hasn't been much of a problem in Windows 11 that I've found. More on that later, I suppose. And I just got an upgrade for my gaming rig over here. So like, gaming isn't really a big deal for me on my laptop. I really just want to get work done. So no, I really think that this might be one of the best laptops that you can still get in 2024, until of course they upgrade it. People have complained about the nerfed memory bandwidth. I haven't noticed any issues. The SSDs are actually faster than the M2 Pro, unless you upgrade to the 1 terabyte with the M2 Pro might be slightly faster. I'm not really sure. I never did testing with that, but the SSD on this is for sure much faster, and I think will just like it'll remain relevant speeds for quite a long time. Anyway, to wrap things up, great laptop, great for outdoors, cafe use. I do all my office work next to this huge window over here. That's what's lighting me, and I've seen no issue with this particular device. I heard the fans when I was running a benchmark Cinebench like twice in a row, but it's silent. It doesn't get warm. It's just like perfect. It's everything you can ever want in a laptop. Hope you guys have a good one. Make sure to subscribe, because I'm gonna be making more stuff soon about the monitor that I've had for a while. I want to sort of do a deep dive on my impressions of it. Also, the upgrades I've done to my gaming rig. I think you guys will find that very interesting. So, have a good one, and I will see you in the next video.